Hello viewers, welcome back. It's finally time for Channeling Nixon Part 2. Now that we're getting into the heat of impeachment, I thought it would be a great time to bring him back. But first, a message from our sponsor. No, just kidding. Just picked up today Rachel Maddow's new book she was talking about on the news last night, Blowout, about the corruption and mostly with the fuel and gas companies. Cannot wait to read it. 20% off right now at Barnes & Noble too, by the way. So anybody has Barnes & Noble membership, you also get another discount on top of that. I have a list of questions for Mr. Nixon and Pat if she wants to come in. I also have notes I may have to refer to if he starts bringing up names of people in his cabinet or administration. I will be sipping a little bit of cider to keep my voice going. Blueberry cider, which is really interesting. I love it. Just to kind of kick this off, I do repeat myself when I'm channeling. It's a way that I keep my vibration high. So those of you who like to write comments like your repetition, you're repeating yourself gets on my nerves, don't watch my videos where I'm channeling, okay? Just don't. You have free will. I'm just going to delete your comments if you write something like that. If you've never channeled, you don't understand. When you're channeling, you're trying to keep your energy high so you can stay connected. And especially for a 1 hour channeling, I'm anticipating this will be about an hour. The other thing is I say a lot when I'm channeling. I say a lot anyway, but I say a lot when I'm channeling. Again, trying to keep my vibration up, and it's also me tuning in to see what he is saying. So I close my eyes a lot. Some mediums, when they channel or even working as a medium, you'll see they scribble on a notepad or do other things to distract themselves. It's getting the ego out of the way, getting the filters out of the way. My favorite thing to do is shuffling cards. So a lot of times when I first get into channeling and throughout the channeling, I shuffle cards. Occasionally, if you watch any of my previously channeled videos, and I do encourage you, go watch Channeling Richard Milhouse Nixon Part 1. I think I did it back in April, might have been May, but a few months ago. Go watch that because it was really interesting. I watched it again today getting ready for this to refresh my memory of what I said, because I have no memory when I get done with this about what comes out. The other channel video, and I have a playlist for channelings that are rather I find interesting on the internet, but my channeled videos are also in there. I've channeled Dr. Martin Luther King and our favorite Marjorie Merriweather post. That one's still getting a lot of really interesting reactions. New subscribers going back and watching that one. Marjorie Merriweather post built Mar-a-Lago, for those of you who don't know. So, Richard Milhouse Nixon. Just to refresh our memory, he was president from 1969 to 1974, our 37th president. I'm not going to go through all of his things that he did while he was president. You know, some of you beat me up for some of that because I said, you know, he got us out of Vietnam. Well, he was the president. We know the groundwork was laid by LBJ, but he was the president. Some of you beat me up for saying he was the president when we had the moon landing, but that's a fact. He was, even though it was started by JFK, we know that he was the president at the time of the moon landing. It's just a historical milestone thing that was happening at the time he was president. So, you know, he did things like started the Environmental Protection Agency and the war on cancer. That was his thing. He was reelected in 1972. He resigned August 9th of 1974, and then he was pardoned by Gerald Ford, who became president, you know, after he resigned. He did not like communism. I won't go through everything, but I just wanted to give a few highlights. But anyway, at the end of July, you know, they started the impeachment hearings in like early May of 1974. By the end of July, they had told Nixon, we're going to have a yes vote on this. We're going to have a conviction or whatever. And he resigned August 8th. So that being said, I'm just going to pull Nixon in. One of the things I wanted to bring up first is his connection with, or his views on Martha Mitchell. John Mitchell was his attorney general, who resigned because Martha Mitchell, who was known as Mouth of the South, she was very outspoken. She told John, her husband, it's me or Nixon, basically, in public. Put him, he resigned, but he later was convicted and served 18 or 19 months in prison for conspiracy and obstruction of justice. But in a 1977 interview with David Frost, if any of you remember him, Nixon said if it hadn't been for Martha, there would have been no Watergate. Martha claims to have been held, she found out about the burglary when she was in California, claims to have been held by her bodyguards, Secret Service, in the hotel for several days, that they beat her up, that they drugged her. She later did an interview with one of her friends in the news business, in the media, and had visible bruising on her body where she had been beaten up and held captive, basically. That was later confirmed by someone else who had been, Stephen King, not Stephen King the author, Stephen King was one of her bodyguards then, and he confirmed it years later, that she was basically held prisoner. She was kidnapped. Stephen King is now Trump's ambassador to the Czech Republic, so he's still around in politics with sleazebags, apparently, right? So I'm just going to tune in here. I want to just see what Nixon has to say about Martha. Now, a lot of times in channeling, they will have me feel how they felt in life. It's not that they're that way on the other side, but certain things I'll start picking up on. And a lot of times the way they communicate is, how they would have communicated in life, although they've learned their lessons on the other side. But I just want to see what Richard has to say about Martha Mitchell. Oh, she was definitely Mouth of the South. She was so connected to the media, so connected. He had many conversations with John Mitchell about her. He and John had a law practice together. I believe it started around 1965 or 66. And he said all the way back to then, she was a socialite. She had a big mouth. She liked to give the inside scoop on stuff, to be gossipy. He said they wanted to take her out. Some of the people wanted to take her out. So she's lucky that she lived. She later died of cancer, not too many years later. I think it was 1977. She was like 57 when she died, or early 50s. She wasn't that old. He's saying that he knew when John resigned that he hadn't heard the last from Martha, that she was still going to stir up all the corruption that was going on, talking about it. That's what she liked to talk about, how corrupt the Republican Party was, how corrupt Nixon was. John was his campaign manager for his re-election committee in leading up to 1972 to his re-election. He saying John was completely aware of everything that was going on with Watergate, and Martha liked to eavesdrop and spy and look through his papers and things, and she talked to the media a lot. She liked to stir things up and call out the corruption. He said they portrayed her as an alcoholic. She wasn't really an alcoholic. She did drink. She liked to have a drink every evening. She was sort of like the Rat Pack kind of thing, where she liked to socialize in the evening, have a drink, and then she'd start talking to newspaper people. So she liked to loosen her tongue with a drink, but she wasn't an alcoholic. They just painted her that way, trying to damage her reputation so that people would quit talking to her, quit having her on TV shows to interview her, quit, interviewing her for newspaper articles. He said her approval ratings, her people believed her, that she had a high approval rating, that people did believe what she said. There's something called the Martha Mitchell effect, which is where things get so fantastical that people believe it's made up and can't be true, that it's got to be conspiracy theory or whatever. And in fact, everything she said, he's saying was true. Everything that she told the news, everything she said was truth. Saying that was her power, because she was so well connected in the media. They knew if somebody took her out, that the media would be all over it, because they would be suspicious. So that was one of the reasons that she was spared, that she wasn't taken out. They tried to make her out as a lunatic and alcoholic, and he said it just trying to paint her in a bad way, much like Trump tries to paint people in a bad way. So, Mr. Nixon, President Nixon, who's our Martha Mitchell today? Who's speaking out on the truth from the inside, or will speak out on the truth? Who's going to be someone who leaks information or I feel like there's some leaks going on from Mick Mulvaney, that some of the information that's coming out has been leaked by him. He said he's a dyed-in-the-wool Republican, but crazy has just gone too far. So some of the things that are starting to leak out are coming from Mick Mulvaney. He said his hands are dirty, though. He's where Martha's hands were clean, Mick's hands are dirty. Said he stayed too long, like John Mitchell did. He's saying there really isn't someone that's a true Martha Mitchell in this time, as far as anyone that has clean hands and speaking the truth from within the administration or from within, even a spouse of someone. He said she was an enigma, that there's not really someone who's got the charisma she had when speaking and doing interviews, the believability. He said she was believable because she spoke the truth. Even though a lot of it was crazy and seemed far-fetched, she spoke the truth. Nixon got pissed off a lot because she talked to Pat Nixon. Martha would talk to Pat about things that were going on, and Pat was very intimidated by Nixon. So it's as if he said Martha was trying to get Pat to leave Richard Nixon. He said it wasn't happening. Pat was too scared to go out on her own. He's saying Dan Coates has some information he's going to be sharing. He said the main thing that needs to come out now are the hidden files, the files that they've stashed. Those need to come out because it's going to do so much damage. He mentioned in the first video where I channeled him that January of 2020 would bring some really shocking revelations. So I feel like he's going there. So I just want to get him to clarify if he'll share some information. There are phone calls with Putin that there are transcripts of. There's phone calls that were discussing setting up the Ukraine and the UK and Australia, as the bad guys. They're the ones that caused the fake FBI investigations into Trump's campaign and trying to take everybody off the scent of the Mueller report and Russia. Saying, Mike Pence, William Barr, these guys were all in on conversations that were had, like after phone calls with Putin about how to distract from this and how to push it off onto other things and other investigations, all made up, fabricated things. He said he's laughing. He said Trump's better at distracting in some ways because he gets so fantastical making up these crazy stories. It actually puts him under more because it can't possibly be true. But he's got quite the imagination to be able to make up some of these things of, we'll blame it on this. He's talking about Barr again. He talked about Barr in the first video too, that Barr would probably serve some jail time for perjury. And he's saying obstruction of justice too. He's saying that Barr is not that loyal to Trump. He's getting tired of putting out all his fires, but he is loyal to the Republican cause. So what he's trying to do in obstructing and downplaying important facts and steering towards other things, it's for the Republican cause. That Republican cause does include Russia. Talking about William Barr, he loves power. He just loves power. He just feeds off of it, and he wants to be in control, and he wants to be, the big player. He likes a challenge. So when Trump gets in trouble, he likes a challenge of trying to obscure what's going on. Don't look behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz, right? He's saying Melania is terrified of Barr. I noticed at the UN speech that Melania looked very stern-faced, very angry in some of the film footage I saw, and then she almost looked trembly, unnerved. He said she's a lot like Pat, like she's afraid. She's not staying at the White House anymore. She's staying at her parents in Maryland. But she's afraid. She's not going to speak out. She's also afraid of being penniless. So she's worried about what's going to happen to all their money after all this comes down. She sees it coming. Talking about Putin after all this goes down, that Putin's going to wash his hands of Trump and oh, you guys elected an idiot, how stupid are you guys, that kind of thing. He's going to act like he had nothing to do with it. Typical Putin, right? What's going to happen to Putin? He's got a lot of protesters. He's talking about his loyalty is only to Russia. He wants to make Russia, great again, to make it a superpower, to be accepted by all the other governments, and to be leaders, big leaders. Where the U.S. is known as leaders of the free world, he wants to be, because they have these fake elections, he wants to be the leader of the free world, even though they're not free elections. It's actually still a communist regime. He will be taken out. The oligarchs have some control over Putin because of all the money, but they're afraid of him because of all of his training as a spy, and um, all his military training. Well, I feel like, and he's showing me, it feels like in a couple of years there may be an assassination attempt on Putin. It doesn't feel like it's going to be successful. Like someone tries to take him out. And Putin doesn't really get afraid. He doesn't. It's a game to him, and he's, no emotions kind of thing. He doesn't really get afraid, so makes him angry, actually. It's the feeling I'm getting. Let's see. When Nixon was president, they created the memo about you can't indict a sitting president in the DOJ. They did that so that they could go after Spiro Agnew, who was quite corrupt. Had his hand in a lot of money. So I just want to see what's with this DOJ. It's just a memo. It's just a letter. It's not law. It feels like Letitia James may try to test that and raise it up to like the Supreme Court. He's saying it needs to be tested because it's not true. No one's above the law. There's no reason why you can't indict a sitting president. They allow civil suits against presidents. He's reminding me because, Bill Clinton had civil suits. So let me see if he has anything else to say about William Barr going after Mueller through foreign nations and going after the FBI and CIA, trying to discredit them. He's saying America's strong. The FBI and CIA are strong. They've got a lot of things that they are not talking to Barr about. Barr's just trying to disempower the whole political system, the whole process. It's like dismantling our democracy the way it is. If he had his way, we'd be a one-party system with all Republicans. So what can we expect in 2019? What are our touch points? What are the big things? More is going to come out about Russian collusion. Bank drafts are going to come out. Deutsche Bank, Deutsche Bank, Deutsche Bank. Money laundering. He said, watch for the House is going to vote to, they're going to do the articles of impeachment, and they're going to pass it on to the Senate for the Senate trial. Um, the House will work as the prosecutors for that. And he said, watch for the signs of the Republicans that you can tell in the trial are shifting away from Trump. He said, you'll see it in their faces. Some surprising ones are going to turn their back on him. Some not so surprising, like Mitt Romney, will get much more vocal. Ted Cruz will turn against him. It's interesting because Ted Cruz badmouthed Trump, then he used Trump to get reelected against Beto, and then now he's like saying he's going to turn against Trump again. So it's like what's happening with Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan's working for Fox News now. Paul Ryan talked horribly about Trump when he was running, and then as Speaker of the House, he did nothing to control and reel him in. And now he's back to bad-mouthing him. He said he's being put up to that. Paul Ryan's being put up to that by Republicans who are getting sick of what's going on and see the writing on the wall. So they're trying to get some words out there that, this guy's going to go, and he's going to go hard. Said Lindsey Graham's just going to look like an idiot. He likes my, how I call him, lapdog Lindsey Graham. He's just going to continue to look like an idiot right to the end. He's talking about how sick Mitch McConnell is, meaning like twisted in his mind. Just sick, disgusting, corrupted. Mitch is going to have his own problems from his relationships with the Russian oligarchs. He's going to get caught up in his own trials and hearings. Him and his wife, so... Talking about the poor judgment, the wisdom of the people who know what's going on and turn a blind eye. Like this blatant in their face, they know what's going on and they keep turning a blind eye. And he's like, they're just so delusional that they think that anyone can get away with this. And in the Senate, they're going to be given so much evidence that they have to vote for impeachment. Turning the blind eye is not going to be acceptable anymore because there's just going to be too much evidence. Something's going to come out about the Panama Papers. I forgot what year that was, but he's talking about the Panama Papers and people connected in that. He said Lindsey Graham's just going to die of embarrassment, just complete embarrassment, because he's made such a spectacle of himself. So, does Trump have something on Lindsey? Is that why he just keeps covering for Trump? He's showing me dirty laundry, like hanging out dirty clothes and dirty sheets, and it's whatever it is. It feels personal. It doesn't feel um, monetary, and it's not that Trump got the had the information. It's that someone fed it to him. So he's got Lindsay over a barrel. Something personal, airing dirty laundry. And Lindsay would like to be Speaker of the House, so he's trying to be as boisterous and hard-lined as Mitch McConnell, but he comes off as on these rants that that just seem like anger and rants and stuff, and he doesn't do it in a calm way, so he's not believable. Nixon just said, "Thou protestest too much." Thou protest too much, excuse me. Thou protest too much. Are there any other touch points we can watch for in 2019? October, November. He said it's going to be like a big helium balloon that just keeps blowing up and blowing up and blowing up. And he said, believe it or not, Trump's going to keep telling on himself, but it's going to blow up so big. So some of the hidden recordings or hidden transcripts that they're going to get a hold of, the House is going to get a hold of. There's going to be more leaks, and it's just this big helium balloon is just going to keep blowing up until it explodes. They're moving very fast. They're going to move to a Senate or a House vote very quickly. Watch for something big breaking mid-October, like around October 15th-ish. Something big mid-October. Nixon saying he wouldn't be surprised if the House voted on this before Thanksgiving. They hope to do a vote before the end of the year, but it might even go faster than that if they can continue to get some documentation. Even though their articles of impeachment are focusing on the Ukraine situation, they will add to that, like in trial and everything, they'll add to that other things that show obstruction of justice and the disloyalty to America. All the things Trump accuses everyone else of. Adam Schiff is treasonous. All those things Trump is. So he's projecting his own guilt. He's talking about Flynn is not going to like his sentencing hearing. So watch for that. That's going to be interesting. He's not going to like it. He's getting he's feeling empowered because he thinks Trump's gotten away with a lot of this stuff, so he's getting empowered again. And now that they've sort of dissed the Mueller report, him and Barr, he thinks that Barr is empowering Trump, and he's going to get blindsided in his sentencing. He's talking about the FBI has a lot of hidden investigations that are going to come out once Trump is gone. So Mike Flynn's son is one that's going to come out after Trump's gone. They're hiding a lot of things because of William Barr and Trump. So there's other investigations that will like go very quickly into indictments. They just don't want to talk about it right now because they know things could get it squelched or pardoned or whatever. He's talking about Manafort's going to get a lot more time in his other trial that's going on. He'll die in jail. Trump's going to pardon no one because Trump's not loyal to anyone. You know, Trump asked James Comey, to take a loyalty oath. He's the Godfather. Kiss my ring, right? So he's talking about how Trump expects loyalty from everyone, but he gives it to no one. And he said that was another difference between Nixon and Trump, is that Nixon was tight and in cahoots with everybody. He was trying to protect other people that ended up serving jail time. He said, really, I should have been indicted and served jail time, but he was loyal to those who were in on the scam. It was like a mutual loyalty between them, where Trump is like trying to sit like the Godfather and come kiss my ring. I'm the Don. He's going out to May of 2020. He's talking about May of 2020, there'll be some unusual enlightenments going on in court cases that we're going to start seeing more and more evidence. He said part of the evidence, because it's going to be used in multiple cases against different people, some of it will be sort of suppressed and we won't see it in trials until we start getting to the last person they're using that evidence in, and then we're going to start hearing about even more things that went on. It's like a tower that's just imploding on itself, and it's just crumbling down. He's going to Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon for some reason. He's talking about he didn't have anybody like that in his administration, that hardcore, wanting an authoritarian dictator, in the country, not a democracy. The laughing stocks, who do just horrible things, and end up getting, laughed at, like just has-beens eventually. Their reputation's ruined. He's laughing. He said, we're going to see so many TV programs on this for years, deconstructing everything, and made for TV movies and everything, documentaries and docudramas. He's like, everyone's going to get sick of it. There's so many books that are going to come out. I'm just going to ask him, how is Trump going to go? Is he going to be impeached, or is he going to just resign? He's saying, I honestly don't know. He said, everybody's got free will, and Trump is so stubborn that he may have to get dragged out of the White House. He does run from things usually when he's finally beaten, when he knows he can't win. He won't go to New York when he leaves. He'll go to Mar-a-Lago probably and hide there. Saying there's too many Democrats in New York. So he won't go to New York. So will Pence go at the same time? He's calling him the shadow. The shadow. He said the shadow knows. He's always lurking in the shadows. And, he's very quiet since the impeachment proceedings started. He said the shadow knows everything. The shadow's going to get caught up. There's going to be information that is leaked out or that has gotten, through subpoenas that shows just how much Pence knows. And Pence, of course, lied for Flynn. He's going to be made an offer to go or face impeachment himself, because information's going to come out at the same time, like a unindicted co-conspirator kind of thing. He said it's so funny, how the Republicans keep talking about the deep state, the Jim Jordans and those guys. He said the deep state is the Republican Party. It's just corrupted. He said there is some corruption in the Democrats, some that have taken money. But in general, nothing like what's going on in the Republican Party. He's talking about it was corrupt in my time, as Martha brought out over and over, Martha Mitchell. It was corrupt in my time, and it hasn't gotten fixed. It never has gotten fixed. And he said there's no reason for it. It's their way of trying to stay in power, but they know so many ways of making money in back channels. Spiro T. Agnew was forced out because of his back channels and money. He said, he was guilty of sin. So I didn't like him. He couldn't keep his hands out of the pot. He kept sticking his hand in for more and more and more. He was greedy. He said we were all greedy, but Spiro was just so blatant with it that he's like, he's got to go. And he's talking about how Spiro used his back channels for repayments to people too. So he was getting money and then he was giving it somewhere else. He said Trump's doing the same thing. He's got these back channels going where money's getting stashed offshore, whatever. He can't get to it, but he's got these back channels where he's trying to get money back to Russian oligarchs that he owes money to. He's a little bit afraid of them. He's a little bit afraid that somebody will poison him, somebody will take him out. He said before the House votes on impeachment, in the articles of impeachment, they will include obstruction of justice. So watch for that, for them to add obstruction of justice in. He said, I'm asking him in my head, sorry, I forgot to ask out loud so you guys can hear it. I'm asking him about the Senate trial, Justice Roberts presiding, how that will go. He's saying Roberts will be very fair. He said, Mitch basically wants to stop it, slow it down, whatever, but, he'll be forced into having it. But the evidence is going to be so strong that Mitch is just going to have to sit there and take it. They're gonna get it through. Roberts does not like Kavanaugh. He does not like him. He wants him off the court. He's hoping they do get him off the court. Thinks he's a sleazebag. So will Nancy Pelosi become interim president? He's saying most likely, because Pence will have to go. And they're going to bring up so much stuff on Pence, he'll have to go. He's talking about her focus will be just trying to bring the country together and helping to heal, for those who did support Trump, helping them understand everything that comes out, making it very clear that he was a danger to our nation. She's not going to do much as far as legislation or anything until after the 2020 elections. And then our new president and our new Congress will tighten up things like the emoluments clause and things like, yes, you can indict a sitting president. Put that fear of God in him, he's saying. Put that fear of God in him that, yes, you can be indicted. Put it in law. Put it in black and white. Let's see, we talked about William Barr. Talk to me about Mike Pompeo. Oh, he's calling him a jellyfish. Like a big bloated jellyfish. This guy's tentacles into everything. He said when he's poked, he's gonna squeal like a pig. He's gonna let loose a lot. So it's gonna take a while to get him to that point, to where he admits some of the things that went on, but he's gonna squeal like a pig. So watch for that. He'll turn on Trump eventually. He's being strong right now because he thinks he's also got William Barr right there with him, but when all this stuff keeps coming out about everything they knew about, he's going to be squealing like a pig trying to get a lighter sentence. Talking about William Barr again, I feel like when they bring charges against him, like he's going to push it all the way to the Supreme Court. Like he's going to try to push it as far up as he can in appeals. He said it's not going to work though. There's going to be too much evidence that comes out on him, so he's not going to be able to win any appeals. Let's see, we have two former State Department officials, two former, Kurt Volker, who was special counsel to the Ukraine, or special something, I forgot what it's called, and the former ambassador to the Ukraine are going to be doing depositions to the House in the impeachment inquiry. How is that going to go? Saying Volker knows a lot. That's why he resigned as soon as the whistleblower stuff started blowing up. He's saying, like, he knows the party is over. He knows it's over. He's going to squeal like a pig. He's going to give up some information. So he's going to talk about who was in the room for phone calls and meetings he set up with Giuliani and Pompeo and different people. And Giuliani's just toast, he's saying. Giuliani's just toast. Giuliani's just in it for the limelight and the power, also because he misses the power he had when he was mayor of New York and he felt like king of the world. So a lot of it is he's, just got aspirations of being beloved for doing all these wonderful things again or something, and he's just turning into a big joke. His hands are too dirty with money he's taken. He just keeps showing me dirty hands, like everybody. Like when I think of somebody and ask him about it, I see dirty hands again. He's talking about George Conway and Kellyanne Conway, that they're sort of the Martha and John Mitchell of today. The husband and wife spatting in public and tweeting about it and contradicting each other in the press. He said they're going to end up divorced. So Kellyanne's just a mouthpiece, that she doesn't really, her hands aren't as dirty in a way. She's the mouthpiece that's just going to fight for Trump because that's who she is. She's just going to fight for him no matter what. She doesn't really have a clue to everything that's going on. So she's naive in a lot of ways. She's like one of those people that's going to fight no matter how wrong she is. She's just going to fight and fight and fight. And she's going to be extremely embarrassed and end up with no career, nowhere to go. I just feel like he's taking me on a walk through a prison, like a cell block, and it's like okay, so and so's in here, and so and so's in here, and so like every cell, like there's somebody connected to Trump. Um, he's like the trials are just going to go on and on. He said with Watergate it was a little different. There were a lot of indictments, and we've had a lot, from the Mueller investigation. There were a lot of indictments in Watergate prior to the impeachment hearings, but some of the trials went on afterwards too. So. He's talking about there's going to be so many indictments later, to watch for that. Everybody that's touched him is going to get their hands dirty. He's like a magnet for people. He's making me laugh. He's saying he doesn't think a lot of these people are going to find Jesus in prison. It's just not in them. He's talking about Trump's tweet storm this last weekend. I think it was like over 150 tweets in 2 days or something crazy. Broke his record. He said watch for his tweets to get more and more and more outrageous. Anything he can do to address the spin, to try to rile up his base, calling for a civil war and things like that. It's not going to work. There's not going to be a civil war. It is his own big head balloon that's so big is going to start shrinking down to size because he's going to realize nobody's going to fight for him. So how tragic that a president would want to start a civil war, like in my name start a civil war. He's not that important, people. He's a criminal, but he's not that important. He's just saying, kind of in wrapping up, justice will be served. The process will work. Bear with it. Just be patient. Everything, will happen in its own time. But the whole impeachment inquiry and then leading into the trial, it'll happen pretty quickly. So if the inquiry if the vote in the House is done by November. So McConnell tried to stop the trial from starting right away because of Christmas and the holidays and the holiday break and stuff, but there's going to be a lot of pressure because of the evidence that comes out by then. He said there's so much more that's going to come out in the next 2 months that they're not going to be able to delay it that long. I actually feel like Martha Mitchell has come in with Richard Nixon on the other side. It's kind of funny. He's like, Martha's here, mouth of the South. She's like, honey, they can call me crazy all they want. Truth hurts sometimes. Her main concern was for her children to know the truth. I feel like when she was held in California, I feel like one of her daughters was there, like witness when she was being beaten up. and held. She said I was a hostage. She's talking about our Democratic candidates coming up for the election in 2020, our presidential candidates. She's like, I love seeing all those women. She's laughing. She said, you know how Trump always said, I hire only the best people? He goes, well, no, Nancy Pelosi's got the best people. She's got Adam Schiff. She's got Jerry Nadler. She's got the best people. She's got Maxine Walters. She's got all the people who know how to put all this together. Elijah Cummings. She's like, Nancy's got the best people. She did not like John Ehrlichman. Don't know if there's anything about any words that they ever had in public, but she does not like John Ehrlichman, or did not like John Ehrlichman. She's laughing. She's saying, if they'd had YouTube back in my day, I would have been doing videos like this on YouTube talking about all the corruption. She's loving all the readers getting on and reading. She's like, our Democrats need to learn how to take more advantage of things like YouTube and social media. They do somewhat, but they don't realize how strong the power is of social media. Saying she told John, her husband, after she was beaten up by the security guys in California, she told him next time it was going to be him, that she's going to pulverize him that way. Well, I'm just going to stop and thank Richard and Pat Nixon for coming in, and Martha Mitchell also. There's a lot more questions I have. I don't know, may have to do a part 3 as we get closer to the actual voting or something, as we start seeing and the trial, when we start going to trial in the Senate. But I feel like right now they're just kind of enjoying watching it unfold, because it's just blowing up so big, and it's time. It's time. So thank you for watching. If you like this, please click subscribe and the like button. And I'll try to get back on here and do a regular reading soon. I hadn't done a channeled reading in a while, so I wanted to get on and try and do another channeled reading. Thanks for watching. Bye.